Rumor has it that Steve Burton's character, Jason Morgan, would spend the majority of General Hospital, probably have WSB agent Jack Brennan frame him for Cyrus Reno, Jeff Cobra's murder. Dear Chris McKenna, that way, the true offender, Justin Jacks, may remain unpunished. Brennan is keeping an eye on Joss for the WSB and needs to make sure she's safe. Joss will be having a hard time coping and may want to tell someone, even though Brennan has told her she can't. She may confide in her mother, Carly Spencer. Laura Wright, who is in desperate need of relief, is concerned that Josslyn may tell Carly the truth about her part in Cyrus's murder, or listen in on Josh and Brennan discussing it. Either way, Carly will be taken aback by the revelation that her daughter was responsible for Cyrus's death. In the end, Carly's anger at Brennan for concealing the truth will jeopardize their developing relationship. Jason is now facing, or will soon face, charges related to the murder, which has caused Josslyn a great deal of distress. Kai may attempt to get Josslyn to open up to her, but this may be a challenging task, especially if Carrie succeeds in getting Josslyn to confess. Fact, what will she do now that Jason is either going to be or already has been convicted of the crime? Carrie must decide whether to save her best friend or her daughter, and this choice will create a wedge between Carly and Jason. Loved each other from the beginning, even before Josslyn came along. Now Carly has to make a difficult decision, and it will hurt my heart to see her struggle with it. Despite her feelings for her best friend, Carly will pick her daughter over Jason. She wants her daughter to face murder charges. In order to save Josslyn, Jason tells Carrie he has to protect his son Danny Morgan Asher Antonin. But Josslyn is so distraught at Jason's conviction for a crime she didn't do, so she confesses just in time to spare him. Is it going to be revealed that Jason killed Cyrus in self-defense? And will she be convicted? Find out what you think by tuning in to General Hospital on ABC weekdays. Will Carly find out the truth about Cyrus's death? What will she do when she finds out? Will she have to choose between Jason and her daughter? Kai stood in the center of the room, her hands shaking with fear as she examined the evidence. Her mind was racing, and her heart was beating at an almost intolerable pace. She never imagined she would be in this situation. Yet here she was. Here she was, in the midst of a moment when everything appeared to stand still, and every choice seemed to hold the weight of the universe. Josslyn, her daughter, had been behaving oddly recently, unlike the lively and enthusiastic young lady Carl remembered. The shifts, her recent reclusiveness, the late-night retreats into her room, and the nagging guilt that seemed to follow her wherever she went. Guilt that Carr had brushed off as the inevitable burden of maturing, never could have fathomed the reality, which would Carrie was unprepared for the truths that would eventually destroy her family's illusions about their history, especially after Carly's courageous fight against the man who had damaged her loved ones. Even though Cyrus didn't go down without a fight, his execution was anything from clean, and Josslyn had been involved in the plot that had led to his demise. Carly was now faced with the repercussions of her actions, as Jason, Ailey, and the Protector had engaged in what was clearly not self-defense, but murder. Carly's thoughts were racing with all the options available to her. Jason, her husband, was always there for her, providing strength and support no matter what. He was loyal, unwavering, and steadfast. But Carly still couldn't forgive him for what he did to protect Josslyn. Jason was the kind of guy who would do everything to protect the people he cared about. But was it enough now? Did his love for her and their family outweigh her concerns for Josslyn, her daughter, who had also taken a decision that Carrie had no way of foreseeing? Carrie couldn't help but wonder if her daughter Josslyn had crossed an irreparable line in her actions to protect her mother and family from Cyrus Reno's merciless wrath. How could she reconcile her love for Josslyn with the brutality of what she had done? A dilemma arose for Carly, who felt torn between her two dearest friends. Josslyn, her daughter, her heart, and the person who had grown up before her eyes, now confronted the challenges that Jason, who had always been there for her, had protected, and who had stuck by her through thick and thin. Her decision had far-reaching consequences, altering their lives for the better or worse. The pressure to choose between standing by Jason, her partner throughout, and standing by her daughter. Her greatest source of joy and source of deepest concern was crushing on her. The irony wasn't lost on her. Carly remained unconvinced that Jason had done the right thing, and Carrie's instincts urged her to protect her daughter, Josslyn, by standing up for what was right. However, both choices were laden with betrayal, and she wasn't sure she was ready for either path. Carly wondered if Josslyn could handle it, and her thoughts went back to Jason, whose composed demeanor betrayed the inner turmoil he must have been experiencing. Jason had never shied away from making difficult decisions, and I understood that he had acted in their family's best interest. But that didn't make it right. Was killing Cyrus truly the solution? Or had they crossed a line they could never recover from? What lay ahead? C's thoughts were racing with questions and answers that didn't make sense. Her love for Jason was immense, beyond words. But this was different. It wasn't about protecting her or their family anymore. It was about making a choice between what could be justified and what could never be undone. And then there was Josslyn, her lovely, intelligent, and resilient daughter who had grown up so quickly, so strong in the face of all the chaos. Heartbreak was aware that Josslyn had acted morally, but the question remained, how would she cope with the fallout? There was no simple answer to how Karar could live with herself after what she had done. The more she thought about it, the more confused she became. She was bereft of direction. Choosing between Jason and Josslyn seemed like betraying who she was. Her love for both of them was overwhelming. But at the moment, it was making the choice more difficult. She needed time, but they were short on it, and the burden was making it hard for her to think straight. Now that the truth had come out, Carrie had to choose between Jason, who had been a fearless protector of their family, and Josslyn, who had behaved in an evil way. What frightened Carrie the most, however, was what she knew right then and there. No matter her choice, things would never be the same again. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath as the situation became real. This was the moment that would define everything, decide her family's fate. If you like this video and would want to stay up to date with our news, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel.